Okay, we're back and we're still talking about unit conversions, but this time we're talking about converting between imperial and metric units, because sometimes you get those measurements in those evil imperial units and you gotta convert them to metric because metric is better. So let's take a look at this first one. It's a simple one, and the second one's a little more complicated. We'll get a look at both. So in this case, I am converting 13.2 inches to centimeters. And I get a nice little unit ratio there. 1 inch equals 2.54 centimeters, in case you don't know that one off the top of your head. So just like always, I'm going to start with what I'm given, 13.2 inches, and I'm going to multiply that by a unit ratio. I know I need inches on the bottom to cancel out my inches on the top, and I know I'm looking for centimeters, and I know the conversion ratio between inches and centimeters, so I can just stick that right in. According to the problem, there's 2.5 centimeters in every 1 inch. This is super easy. All you have to do is put that in your calculator, and you should get 442.6 centimeters. But let's talk sig figs really quick. 13.2 inches has 3 sig figs. 2.54 centimeters is a conversion factor, so typically we would not use our conversion factors in our sig fig calculations because those are what we call exact numbers. We want to base our final answer on measurements, not exact numbers. So this is the only sig figs we care about. 13.2 inches is 3 sig figs. Right now, 442.6, that's 4 sig figs. No good. We need to round that to 3 sig figs to follow our rules. So that means our final answer ends up being 443 centimeters with the appropriate number of significant figures. So keep that in mind. You always want to have the right number of sig figs in your final answer. Okay, this next one, I'm going to take you on a little trip here. So I have 4.5 yards, and I want to convert that to meters. This one is going to be a lot of steps because it doesn't give me any unit ratios. So I'm going to do the best I can with what I know to get there, but it might take me a lot of steps. So I'm going to start with 4.5 yards. And I know I need yards on the bottom. I don't know how many yards are in a meter off the top of my head. Not a unit ratio that I know. I do know how many feet are in a yard, so I think I can work with that. So I'm going to go to feet. So I know there are 3 feet for every 1 yard. That's not to meters yet though, so I'm going to keep going. So remember, you can just keep adding those unit ratios onto your dimensional analysis until you get to what you want. So yards are canceled. I cross those out just to keep track. Now I'm trying to cancel out feet, so I put it in the bottom. I don't know how many feet are in a meter, but I do know how many inches are in a foot. So I'm going to try that. It's part of the problem-solving process. Sometimes you might not know entirely where you're going, but go with it and see if you can get there. So that's what I'm going to do. You know, I can't see the end yet, but I feel like I know enough where I can get there. So I'm going to cross out my feet. Now I have inches. Once again, I don't know exactly how many inches are in a meter, but I do know inches and centimeters because that was up there. So I know for every 1 inch, there's 2.54 centimeters. So inches are canceled. Now finally, do I know how many centimeters are in a meter? I do, because I know my metric conversions. So I know there's 100 centimeters for every 1 meter. Centimeters cancels. I end up with meters as my final unit. That's a very roundabout way to get there. Usually life is easier and you're given a unit ratio. But in the event that you aren't, know that you can keep going with your dimensional analysis until you get to the unit you want. So I put all of that in my calculator, I use all my parentheses for my fractions, and I end up getting 4.1 meters. Which makes sense because we know that yards and meters are very close. They're not exactly the same measurement, but they're very close to being the same. So it makes sense that 4.5 yards and 4.1 meters, those numbers are close together. Notice that I rounded this to 2 sig figs because 4.5 yards has 2 sig figs. And that's converting non-metric units.